You want a program where you're going to laugh, where you're going to get angry, where you're going to learn something, this is the place to turn. If you want to sleep, watch somebody else.
In Washington, there's a new game in town, Fox News Sunday, and we don't play games. We cover politics. We don't play politics. We cover both sides. We don't take sides. We cover the news. We don't slant the news. Experienced, balanced, fair. Fox News Sunday with Tony Snow.
Sunday at 10 a.m. on Fox 5 Atlanta.
For fun and excitement,
just watch Good Day all next week.
we'll talk to actress Kathy Baker, supermodel Tyra Banks.
And from the new film No Looking Back, actor Edward Burns, plus head coach of the Lady Vols, Pat Summitt.
So get plenty of rest and we'll meet you right back here.
Fox 5 wants to remind you this Sunday, clocks go forward 1 hour.
10 years ago, Japan was regarded as the world's most dynamic economy. Now it's mired in a major economic recession. Japan, what went wrong? This week on It's Your Business. Welcome, I'm Meryl Comer. Also this week, we'll take a closer look at whether the financial deregulation of the Japanese banking sector, the Big Bang as it's known, will be enough to stimulate the Japanese economy. In Mastering Investment, we'll be looking at the pros and cons of investing in Japan. And on Mastering Management, we'll talk to Percy Barnovic, chairman of Investor. Well, the days when Japan's economic power was both feared and admired by the rest of the industrial world are long gone, as the country seems incapable of pulling itself out of an ongoing economic slump. Adrian Brown of Financial Times has this report.
It was the country the world feared and admired for its advanced economy and financial muscle, but no longer. The locomotive of Asia has ground to a halt.
This economy is in deep trouble. Many in the government are trying to make the case that the Japanese economy is about to take off. I would argue the only way that you could make that case is if you look at the charts upside down. Everything in Japan indicates that the economy is sliding. Car sales, housing starts, industrial output, inventories are going in the wrong direction, overtime's declining. We find ourselves today with the economy in recession. It contracted last year by 0.5%. With no change in policy, it will contract again this year.
So when is a recession not a recession? When it happens in Japan, of course.
The government says that the recovery started in late 1993, and they still have not admitted a recession yet. However, actual economic indicators suggest that the economy has been slowing significantly since last spring. Government officials do not use word recession usually, but the expression of a stagnation is enough to justify recession.
The cardboard city beneath Tokyo's Shinjuku station is one of the most visible signs of recession. When the homeless first started appearing here more than 7 years ago, there was public outrage. Today, few people pay them any attention. There are more than 3,000 men and women living this way in Tokyo today, 600 of them in this station alone. Others become tearful when asked how they ended up here. The vast majority of the newly impoverished are middle-aged men, many of whom worked for construction companies or in small businesses that didn't survive the downturn. Although public assistance for the poor exists, obtaining it is not easy, particularly if you're male and under 65.
They've reacted with resignation, and they've reacted with fear. Fear of where the economy is going, fear of the banks they put their money in, fear for their job and their company. And as a result, consumers have dramatically reduced their spending.
But there's still money for pachinko, the country's most popular pastime, Japan's equivalent of pokies. Before the economic bubble burst 7 years ago, though, this building provided for an altogether different clientele. 3 years ago, this was a bank. Today, the vault is still here, but it serves a different purpose. It houses the prizes for this amusement center here in the heart of Tokyo, and one of the few businesses that is actually booming in recession-hit Japan. A recession that has sent the country into a spin. Banks have collapsed, unemployment is rising. Debts from Japanese bankruptcies climbed to a record 14 trillion yen last year. To assist the ailing banking sector, the government's pumped 30 trillion yen into the system. Package after package has been launched by the Hashimoto government, but the economy and the stock market have resolutely failed to respond.
If the government today were to adopt the right policies, rebuild confidence, start moving this economy ahead, the bad debt that's now there would become smaller because there'd be more economic activity, more of the real estate would be filled up, there'd be bigger cash flows. Conversely, if the government continues to do the wrong thing, we could actually see this economy sliding even deeper, and that would generate even more bad debt. The government now has just announced that there's still $600 billion of bad debt, plus there's another $100 billion of bad debt inevitably that's coming from East Asia. That's more than 4 times larger than the GNP of Australia that's been squandered through bad policies in the 1990s.
Bad policies that are bringing a chorus of protest from Canberra to Washington. Japan has more than 1/3 of the world's foreign reserves. Its families save on average at twice the rate of American families. Because of that, the rest of Asia, Indonesia, Malaysia and Thailand in particular, are looking to Japan to reignite Asia's growth. The United States has repeatedly urged Japan to remedy its problems by stoking up consumer demand. Japan's trade surplus with the rest of the world grew sharply in January, including a 66% rise in the US balance. Figures released on Thursday showed the deficit was already at its highest level for 9 years.
That's continuing to happen, and in that sense, Japan's in a great arm wrestling match with the United States. America would like Japan to run down some of its savings, to use some of those savings to get this economy moving, and Japan seems determined to get this economy growing through exports. But what does that really mean? What it really means is that from Beijing to Bangkok to Jakarta, everyone is on an export-driven growth strategy. And Japan, the locomotive of Asia, also goes on an export-driven growth strategy. Inevitably, we're going to have huge trade problems around the world. Japan is a strategic issue for Asia at the moment. It's the locomotive of the Asian economies, but it's pulling backwards.
Adding to the worsening turmoil, a string of scandals that have shaken what little public confidence was left in the banking and financial sectors. The focus today is on the Ministry of Finance, now exposed as one of the world's least accountable institutions. Its officials have huge powers, but have until recently been all but immune from prosecution. In the past, Japan's political leaders have never touched them. But now they see the ministry as an electoral liability and have given tacit approval to the public prosecutors. Since the bubble economy burst more than 7 years ago, every finance minister and top ministry bureaucrat has been forced to resign as a result of scandal.
The disclosure of Japanese financial sector problems is not satisfactory. That's why there's always speculation and unfounded rumors among investors worldwide. MOF has kept this financial system and also the Japanese fiscal system so complex. So many ordinary Japanese people do not know what is going on.
Over 500 of the career bureaucrats of the Ministry of Finance are under investigation by the prosecutors of Japan. We have never seen anything like this. Under investigation for things that years ago were considered to be the normal practice of business.
Yet despite its tarnished reputation, it's the finance ministry that's now making the decisions as to how to spend the trillions of government money to help rescue the banking and financial sectors.
The officials say that they will rescue only good institutions. However, it is very difficult to draw a borderline. In addition, banks are trying to appeal to the general public that they are now restructuring their operations. However, the details of their restructuring plans show very slow progress. So there should remain a moral hazard problem anyway.
The probe into the finance ministries uncovered an iceberg of corruption in banks and public corporations, including the Industrial Bank of Japan, one of the country's top financial institutions. Its director, Kozo Umezo, one of the high-profile casualties. In a further blow, Moody's Investor Services has changed the bank's outlook to negative. On the one hand, it's the most high-tech society on earth. On the other, it's a country where archaic business practices remain deeply ingrained. A closed market, over-regulation, and a lack of transparency, all of which have to be tackled soon.
It's very critical. You can see it in all areas. Those who are prepared to change and those who are accepting change are profiting and doing well, and those who are trying to cling to old traditions are having a tough time.
Clifford Grauer sees gradual signs of change since taking over as manager of Tokyo's most prestigious hotel. The concept of an outsider giving orders to Japanese would have been unthinkable only 10 years ago.
It's true, attitudes are changing. We're a new hotel, we have a very young staff, and they're very open to international ideas and want to know about our style of hotel keeping. The older generations are still very locked into traditional Japanese-style management and perhaps not as flexible to the change as others.
The hotel opened at the height of the recession 4 years ago. Critics predicted its days were numbered. Today it enjoys occupancy of more than 90%. Well over half its guests are Japanese business executives.
We were very surprised. We were really worried just after opening because the bubble had just burst, and we thought, how could it have gone worse, you know, to open a luxury hotel at the top end of the market when, in theory, people should be cutting back because of the recession. But in fact, after a very short time, occupancy picked up and rooms and restaurants were all busy, and there was a very strong interest for the hotel.
But busy is hardly the way you describe Japan's economy today. As public confidence continues to nosedive, so too does the popularity of Prime Minister Hashimoto, who's presided over one of the most disastrous chapters in post-war Japan. His inaction could yet worsen the Asian financial crisis, say some analysts.
The Prime Minister today is probably weaker than he's been at any time since he came to power.
Can he survive this crisis?
He's going to survive with great difficulty. His coalition is starting to crack. The consensus is breaking down further. Japan's problems are not economic in a sense that we don't understand what these problems are. Other countries have had these problems. Australia's had them, the UK, America's had these problems. And Japan's problems aren't financial. Japan's problem is a decision problem, a political problem of how to bring the society back together to create a consensus around a new policy to move ahead. And this Prime Minister has been unable to do that so far.
Last week, in response to the country's economic malaise, the Japanese government issued the first of a series of economic reforms, including the removal of foreign exchange controls and the liberalization of stock brokerage commissions. After the break, we'll weigh the pros and cons of investing in Japan, and we'll have a conversation with leading businessman Percy Barnevik.
Hey! Instead of running out for stamps, shouldn't you be running your business? Imagine a simpler way. Get the personal post office from Pitney Bowes. Send mail without ever going out for stamps. Just wait, punch in the postage, and voila! Professionally metered mail. And postage refills by phone in 30 seconds, day or night.
Call now for your personal post office, electronic scale, and business building mail marketer software. All for a 90-day free trial.
The personal post office. Mailing made simple.
Hey. Matt, got your email. Vancouver? Genius. Passed it on to Epps. He's running it through the Northwest.
Hey, Matt. Ideas a hit in the Northwest. I've got purchasing checking suppliers.
You want it up top. Client briefing. Your Vancouver idea.
Want to take your business to the next level?
And now we have a breaking news story for you.
Strong reaction tonight to our I-team investigation.
President Clinton is issuing some harsh words of warning to Iraq's Saddam Hussein.
Most of the intense weather conditions are being blamed on El Nino.
I've never seen nothing like this.
A nationwide lookout has been posted for Eric Robert Rudolph.
Chopper 5 got us these pictures just a few minutes ago. But there is a pretty good chance of some severe weather, maybe even a few tornadoes.
The downtown connector is a very tight squeeze from Brookwood down towards I-20, and it's only going to get worse.
How does a guy make a good gator call? Is it something like, yeah, come on, come on? I don't want to do this.
Teams of Fox 5 reporters and photographers are covering the flood tonight.
It comes up quick and fast and can destroy everything you have.
It's a devastating thing. It's a terrible thing.
Now, in a story you will see first on 5.
The river continues to recede tonight.
Every day, every night, everywhere. Where will Fox 5 take you next? Just watch Fox 5 Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. It seems a long time ago when we were worried about the Japanese global economic power. Yet Japan is still the world's second largest economy, and what happens there will continue to affect our own economic fortunes. Joining me now to discuss this special relationship and the impact of the financial deregulation underway in Japan is Douglas Wild, international investment strategist at Merrill Lynch in New York. Good morning, Mr. Wild.
Morning. How are you?
Let me ask you, are these reforms underway known as the Big Bang enough to transform an economy that has shown scant growth over the past 7 years?
Well, we view this as a big positive, but we've got to understand there are going to be bumps in the road towards this transition over the next couple of years. These are the sorts of things that have been adopted in the United States, liberalizing foreign exchange controls, and also adopted in London, 10 to 15 to 20 years ago. So this sort of thing needs to be adopted in Japan. We've been long awaiting it, and we're looking forward to the opportunity it's going to create for firms like Merrill Lynch, big international investment firms, and those opportunities.
An earlier report talked about the bad loans in the Japanese banking system. Can we expect more bank failures?
Yeah, that's a healthy thing in our view, to see the weaker institutions folding and being absorbed by the stronger institution. That's going to allow the industry, the financial industry in Japan to evolve and come out of this more healthily.
Japan, like much of the rest of Asia, is talking about exporting its way to economic prosperity. Now, will it work for a country like Japan?
Well, that's been the traditional way that they've brought themselves out of recessions, and we're not 100% sure whether that's going to work in today's global economy. Namely because the U.S. economy here is slowing. We've had very strong economic growth the last 7 years, but that's not necessarily going to continue. Our thinking is that you've got this glut of goods coming out of the rest of Asia and destined for our shores, and we're not necessarily sure that that's the right strategy for Japan right now. Our view is that we really need to see domestic demand stimulated in order to absorb their excess capacity and excess goods. And that's kind of what we'd like to see.
Mr. Wild, Japanese consumers have socked away an estimated $9 to $12 trillion. In fact, it's the largest amount of personal wealth in the world, and yet they get very meager returns. Are the financial reforms underway going to improve that for the Japanese?
We hope so, but what we do need to see, this is a key element of the whole story, and what the international investment community, especially the West, has been calling for is permanent tax reforms to once again stimulate that domestic demand and get things rolling, and potentially that could carry the rest of Asia out of this recession that's plagued them.
In the short time remaining, let's deal with self-interest. What should the American investor be looking at right now in Japan?
Well, across the board, we've got to be very, very careful in Japan. Specifically, we're targeting the housing construction sector, the stock market, those sectors that are likely to benefit from the stimulus package that's been released over the last few weeks. Outside of Japan, we've got a big commitment to Hong Kong. We really think that investors who are willing to enter the waters there, so to speak, will get paid generously for taking that investment position.
Our thank you to Douglas Wild, international investment strategist for Merrill Lynch. Thank you for joining us. After the break, investment advice from Reuters.
So, you want to drive for Budweiser. How about being a NASCAR driver?
Hey, that's me!
A top fuel driver? That's me! A Champ Car driver?
Hey, that's me!
Well then, how about being a designated driver?
Yeah, everybody can do that.
Budweiser reminds you that the designated driver always ends up in victory lane.
instead of running out for stamps, shouldn't you be running your business? Imagine a simpler way. Get the personal post office from Pitney Bowes. Send mail without ever going out for stamps. Just wait, punch in the postage, and voila. Professionally metered mail. And postage refills by phone in 30 seconds, day or night.
Call now for your personal post office, electronic scale, and business building mail marketer software. All for a 90-day free trial.
The personal post office. Mailing made simple.
Here she comes now. It's Rosie, Rosie.
Rosie's home forever.
You rock, Mr. Friend. Thank you very much. She's so cool. Rosie, Rosie, with Rosie. Have a kiss? Put the fun back in the daytime scene now. Makeup? No makeup. People from north to south and coast to coast. No, she's the rockin' host. I say bye.
Weekdays at 3 on Fox 5 Atlanta.
Welcome back. This week in Mastering Investment, Amanda Stoltz of Reuters Business Network takes a closer look at the pros and cons of investing in Japan.
Investors who have put their money into Japan in recent years expecting an upturn have for the most part been disappointed. Now Japan is touting a new stimulus package and a host of financial reforms. But Asia experts say the nation's long-awaited turnaround may still be some ways off.
The outlook, I would say, for the Japanese stock market is uncertain, reflecting the basic uncertainty surrounding the economy. The Japanese economy fundamentally is quite weak now. There's a deflation. They're going into a recession. It is not clear the stock market is going to be booming anytime soon. But the kind of investor who's willing to assume some risk, essentially junk bond kind of investments, could turn out to be very, very good. They are very risky opportunities. The Japanese banks are full of bad loans. One can buy Japanese residential and commercial property today at very low prices. Whether those investments will pan out or not is highly uncertain. So I would say investing in Japan now is something that is not recommended for the risk-averse investor.
And Japanese investors are equally cautious. According to the Bank of Japan, their stock holdings fell 23% in late 1997. And that's the Reuters Newsmaker. I'm Amanda Stoltz in Washington.
If you have any investment questions or topics you'd like us to focus on, just get in touch. Email us at fttv@iyb.org. After the break, one of the world's leading businessmen, Percy Barnevik, talks to us about his management strategy. Stay with us.
Hi. Matt, got your email. Vancouver? Genius. Passed it on to Epps. He's running it through the Northwest.
Hey, Matt. Ideas are hit in the Northwest. I've got purchasing checking suppliers.
You want it up top. Client briefing. Your Vancouver idea.
Want to take your business to the next level?
So, you want to drive for Budweiser. How about being a NASCAR driver?
Hey, that's me.
A top fuel driver?
That's me.
A champ car driver?
Hey, that's me.
Well then, how about being a designated driver?
Yeah, everybody can do that.
Budweiser reminds you that the designated driver always ends up in victory lane.
Next time on Fame LA.
You're gonna be all alone. I'm not a huge Christmas fan, to tell you the truth.
The holiday season is full of surprises.
You know, sometimes I really don't like you, Adam.
Yeah, well, sometimes I'm not so crazy about you. They're willing to give up everything.
So what are you gonna do? I'm gonna stay here.
But maybe they don't have to.
Merry Christmas.
Sunday at 3 on Fox 5 Atlanta.
It's really hard for somebody coming into this market for the first time to adjust to hockey in this desert-like setting. How have you adjusted?
It's great. I mean, it's totally different from Winnipeg. Obviously, the climate, as we can see, we're outside right now. If we were in Winnipeg, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be outside. And, you know, just like last night, the game itself, I mean, you can see the people getting more involved and starting to know about hockey.
Shooting, say score! Number 50!
2 50-goal seasons back-to-back. It's pretty amazing. I'm curious if the second time around you intentionally set out with that specific goal in mind?
Well, always nice. I mean, there's a lot of luck that has to go along with that. You know, it's the players you play with. Obviously, when you get 50 goals one year, you feel like you have to get 50 goals again or it's a disappointing season. But I don't care about that. I want to win a Stanley Cup. I want to be a winner. I want to be known as a winner.
Captain Coyote lights the lamp!
The NHL on Fox 5 Saturday.
Percy Barnevik is one of the world's most high-profile managers. The company he chairs, the Swiss-Swedish engineering concern ABB, is regularly voted Europe's most respected company by the readers of the Financial Times. Last year, he took on new responsibilities, stepping down from the day-to-day running of ABB and up to the chairmanship of Investor, the holding company of the rich and powerful Swedish family, the Wallenbergs, whose interests include Saab automobiles and Ericsson. John Plender spoke to him and began by asking him the best way to create a culture of revenue growth.
You have to stimulate people, you have to reward people, you have to promote people who have good ideas. You have to, during my time at ABB, we put aside extra money for speculative research. We were early into Eastern Europe to start to develop new markets. We were early into Asia in a big way to get positions in that high growth area. You have to be willing to put up some money and to free up resources for growth. You have to stimulate growth and you have to try to encourage creativity in people's minds. Commercial creativity and technical creativity.
ABB has been hugely successful in conducting cross-border mergers and acquisitions, where most of the academic statistics tell us that most acquisitions and mergers are not very successful. What is the key to that success, and what would you say to other businessmen who are going down that route in order to pull off the trick?
I think we've had some advantage coming out of small countries. If you're Japanese or if you're an American, you have this huge domestic market around you, and that is, of course, a little more difficult than to create this multi-domestic culture. But at the end of the day, you have to have an understanding for other people's way of behaving, their culture. You have to spend time together to really discuss problems. You have to share the same values. You have to reward people who really contribute to the group benefit, not just to their own benefit. You have to promote people who are not national, but who are willing to avoid clusters and put a team together.
You talked about the importance of culture in generating competitive advantage. What has been the effect on the culture at ABB of announcing those 10,000 layoffs last October?
Well, we don't need to talk about ABB necessarily. You can take any company who is undergoing a reduction of people, and that's when your policies are put to a test. It's easy in good days to talk about that people are your most valuable asset, and all that. Then we are stuck with a problem to diminish. How do you handle people? How do you help them getting a new job? How do you try to transfer them internally? How do you try to re-educate them to try to put them into another job within or outside the company? I think that tells a lot about your company policy, how you handle it in practice. And we don't need tough managers. We need managers with empathy who can think into the situation of these people who are struck by these changes.
On Mastering Management, John Plender speaking there with Percy Barnevik. That's it for this week. For Financial Times Television, I'm Errol Comer. Thank you for watching.
Tonight, think you can outrun Run the cops?
I see him right there.
On a moped? Get real.
You're going for the horseshoe. He's going to the backyard. Go back around.
A brand new Cops. Then, a rejected lover.
He told me he wanted to see me suffer.
Shattered dreams.
Greg was the best thing that ever happened to me.
A killer.
I was standing about right here when I heard a gunshot.
On the run. Join John Walsh for America's Most Wanted. America Fights Back. The Saturday Night of Justice starts tonight at 8, 7 Central on Fox.
Fox 5 Atlanta. Home to the NHL on Fox and the Stanley Cup. Home to Major League Baseball and the World Series. Home to the National Football League. Super Bowl 33. And now, proud to be the preseason home of the Atlanta Falcons. Fox 5 Atlanta. Home to Hollinger, Rodriguez, and more. Your sports team. Your station of champions. Fox 5 Atlanta. Just watch.
This is Fox 5. Fox 5 Atlanta.